Hey guys, I want to thank you all for joining us on the first episode of Purple Politics. We are the Lacey Close-Up Club. We're going to be talking about the primaries today. We love talking politics. And I'm going to bring it off to Ryan. What do you think about the primaries?
Yeah, so today we're going to mainly focus on the primaries. For those of you that don't know, this is kind of the process that determines who the political or the candidate's going to be to face the president in the next election. So in this case, it's the Democratic primaries. And basically, there needs to be 1,991 delegates pledged to a candidate for them to win the nomination. And once they have the nomination, they're going to be on the ballot. So right now, we're kind of like in the beginning stages. We just got a few votes, or a few states done with their primary votes right now. But right now, the candidates are currently going through like the debate stages and stuff, and that's going to have a huge impact on what states are going to choose each candidate as their guy. So we have the picture of the candidates up here. What do you guys think? Yeah, sure, or a girl. So what do you guys think of these candidates in the primaries?
I think we're looking at some interesting choices. To be honest, you have a billionaire. Actually, you have two billionaires. You have senators. You have
Plenty of millionaires.
Yes, exactly. A lot of millionaires. You have a good selection of people, and I'm not sure if any of you guys watched the debates recently, but there's been a lot of feuds going on amongst the candidates, and it's kind of interesting to see how these candidates all share pretty similar issues, the solutions to issues, and they hold similar values. But it's interesting to see how trying to get these delegates, how they're clashing over similar ideas.
Well, the funny thing about similar ideas is the most radical one is Bernie Sanders.
But he's up top.
A socialist,
yeah.
And he has the lead. And
Democratic socialist.
A Democratic socialist. And I think maybe people like the radical ideas. They like the screaming old man. He gets angry. What do you think, Ryan? Who do you think is going to be the front runner? Do you think Bernie's going to stay?
Right now, Bernie Sanders is winning with 45, and trailing is only Pete Buttigieg with 25. But honestly, I think Bernie Sanders is going to come out on top purely for the fact that he's really far ahead already, and all he has to do within these next couple debates is just hang on and not get slammed. As we saw in the last South Carolina debate on Tuesday, I think it was, he was really getting slammed, but all he had to do was hang on, and he did that. So.
And not to mention his name's already out there. He had a lot of traction in the 2016 election,
Mm-hmm.
so he doesn't really have to fight too much to stay on top.
Yeah.
You mentioned Brian. You mentioned Pete Buttigieg, who's in second place, only trailing 20 delegates. Now I know it's the early stages, but I was quite surprised by this because guys like Mike Bloomberg, who you would expect to be near the top, he hasn't received any delegates yet through these primaries so far, which I think is definitely probably the most surprising thing we've seen.
True. But we can't forget that he did join in a little late. He wasn't on
yes.
the first.
I don't know that you could. At first I was surprised, but as you go on and you see people like Elizabeth Warren dig into him, like they get him.
Yeah.
He's got a shady past. People are looking into this, and I don't know. It's cool.
Back to what you said about Pete Buttigieg, I don't think he's going to come out very strong in the next few debates, just because from the African American and minority communities, he's not very popular compared to the other.
Compared to the other.
And Bloomberg faces that same problem.
Yeah.
That's right. The stop and
frisk in New York.
Frankly, I'm surprised Joe Biden hasn't come up with a lot more traction, because he was a former vice president, first off, and I think he's a lot more popular.
Well, this could bring in another controversial thing about these primaries is a lot of these people are kind of older, and some people are talking about, well, should there be an age limit? I mean, you watch Joe Biden talk, he stumbles over his words a lot.
Yeah,
he gets involved. He goes on. I don't know.
But then again, there's people like Bernie Sanders who they're loud and
very animated.
Yeah, very animated. But he's only a couple of years older than Trump.
And so to go back on Bernie, he's very popular within especially the young people, and it's kind of ironic as he's so old.
And
his views are different than the modern it's interesting to see.
Yeah, I think his views also kind of align too with a lot of that,
Young
millennial
energy.
idea.
Yeah.
Age
So,
brings health risks too, though. Like
That's true.
we talk about Bernie Sanders, we talk about the presidency is the most arguably the most stressful job in the world,
Yeah.
and he had a heart attack campaigning for it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's true.
Could that affect?
When you look at like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna try to bash Obama, but when he went into the presidency, he looked young, he looked like energetic, but when he got out, he looked like tired.
Yeah.
and wiped
Takes a
out.
lot out of
And I don't
Yeah.
think that has anything to do with political bashing or anything. I mean, it's a very stressful job,
Yeah.
and you saw that
Yeah.
with John F. Kennedy. Like, it's a very taxing job. I mean, physically, and I'm sure like emotionally. You have to deal with a lot of issues. Yeah, and you do hold a lot of power, and it's interesting to see how which of these candidates is up to the task to be able to handle this rigorous kind of this job that's going to be extremely important for both themselves and the country.
And I was going to say, with the whole age thing, that's definitely something I think Trump is going to play on a lot. No matter who wins the nomination, if they're on the older side, he has gone after that. You saw him with Joe Biden when Joe Biden was, just beginning to, talk about running. He was attacking him left and right for being old and stumbling over his words. And I'm surprised that it hasn't had that big of an effect on who's winning the delegates, because Bernie Sanders is in first. And, Bernie Sanders is one of the oldest candidates in the race right now. And he would, if he won the presidency, be the oldest president ever elected.
Yeah.
See,
So-
but when I look at someone and I consider their age, it doesn't. Bernie Sanders, yeah, he had a heart attack. Yeah, he's old. The one thing that I look at is he's alive. He's
Yeah,
He's still out there.
Yeah.
definitely.
animated.
Compared to
He's
like
yelling.
compared
he's-
to Joe Biden, he
he's
like you said, is
very-
stumbling over his words. He's just
Yeah.
super
Well,
energetic.
what do you guys think? And this is something I really been thinking about. You look at campaign funds and how much resource these candidates are putting into their campaigns. What do you think? Like, does this surprise you guys that you see Mike Bloomberg and Tom Steyer, who are candidates that both have put hundreds of millions of dollars into their campaign, and yet it seems like it didn't have a huge effect on their amount of delegates that they're winning.
I wouldn't just say it seems like they had a huge effect. I mean, it didn't have a huge effect. It didn't have a huge effect. They have no.
Yeah.
They have no delegates. They
Yeah.
have no
Yeah.
support. When you ask someone, especially Democrats, who they think is going to be the front runner, or who they like, you don't hear Bloomberg. You don't hear Warren. You don't hear Klobuchar, Biden, Bernie, and Buttigieg. Surprisingly.
Yeah, surprising. Well, do you really think that because they're trailing in delegates now in the primaries, do you think it's going to have a profound effect, or do you see maybe possibly seeing Mike Bloomberg, although he's trailing the delegates, do you see him having a chance because he does have a very large social media presence now?
I see
Yeah, especially
anyone.
his
I see
ad
anyone
campaigns.
can shape this in a different way if they have, if they get popular, if they keep campaigning, if the advertisements like Bloomberg on social media, if he keeps up with that, if he's persistent, he could sway the view because there are only 100 delegates declared right now, and you need about
almost 2,000.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
have
Yeah.
the nomination.
no
So
votes.
it's pretty much an open playing field right now. Bernie Sanders is leading with 45. There's only 100 delegates declared, so that's interesting.
Yeah, a 20 delegate gap this early on
It's not- it
isn't
doesn't mean-
a
Yeah.
huge.
in a single day.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Doesn't
if
even
people like Elizabeth Warren, Amy Klobuchar, if they keep trailing like this, it's going to be looked at as a waste of money. That's why Andrew
Yeah.
Yang dropped out. You're spending so much money because you want to win the presidency. Well, if you go too far and you don't have any support,
There's no.
it's
point
kind of silly.
going, yeah.
Yeah.
Why
Well,
are
I
you
think
still
their
going?
idea is they've got to make a name for themselves. Like Bloomberg, Warren, Buttigieg. You compare them to like Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. You go on the streets. Majority of people are probably gonna know who Joe Biden and Bernie
That's
Sanders
true.
are.
Yeah.
But people like Buttigieg, Warren, and Bloomberg, they're not really well-known names. So not everybody's really too educated when they go out to vote.
Bloomberg
was a New York mayor.
He was a New York mayor. I mean, I would argue that he is well known. but
Not
only to
as,
some.
I don't
But
think
and he's
as
not.
well.
Not
He's also not known for the best reasons either. You know,
yeah,
he's very
yeah,
well known
yeah.
for like the soda tax.
The
And,
soda
Yeah.
tax. Yeah, that's right.
All that stuff.
So, I don't know, it seems like we're getting a little off topic. I just wondering, I mean, as the Close-Up Club, we love politics. We think, I'm pretty sure unanimously, that everybody should be involved. Everybody should pay attention because
Yeah.
they are important. They decide your future, and just wondering if anyone had anything to say, any reason they think specifically politics are important.
Well, for one, I mean, you have the power as a United States citizen to cast a vote and kind of decide who runs our country. So, being involved in politics and being understanding of what's going on allows you to, make that educated decision and choose, have your say in how the country is going to be run.
RJ?
And when you say future, I personally think as a student that college comes into play and how it's paid for with all the taxes and things.
Yeah,
That's a
interesting
big-
views from people like Bernie
Yeah,
Sanders.
Bernie Sanders on college.
Free college.
Free
Yeah,
college.
that's especially with this election
Yeah.
a very pertinent issue because
definitely.
that's a lot of these programs that more of the radical candidates like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren want to bring in would raise taxes substantially. And I believe Warren's plan could add about $1 trillion of debt or more over the span of
Figure like something like
a couple
that.
years. Yeah.
So,
So that would definitely have a huge impact on our lives.
yeah.
So we have to kind of weigh that out. Is that something that we want? Revamping the healthcare system to that extent, or the college tuition issue. Is that something that we want to risk taking on all that debt for, or we can weigh our options, and being educated and knowing about politics, I think allows us to make that informed decision.
Yeah, I think
So-
making an uneducated vote is just, frankly, dumb. Like making not voting at all, in my opinion, is better than voting uneducated because you're just not voting for what you don't know what you're voting.
You're using your power like in a blind sense.
I mean,
Almost like
I would disagree. I think that there are a certain amount of people who aren't as, they don't know as much as others do about politics, but that's
Not-
most of the people
not-
who are making
not
these votes.
educated, not educated like completely like diehard into politics. But like I'm just talking about people that absolutely know nothing.
Yeah, like somebody that is on a social media page, and then they hear some person say like, "Oh, vote for this person."
And
And
then-
oh,
that
well,
would
I
bring
guess
me
I
to-
should vote. And
Yeah.
then-
Yeah.
If say you're a Republican and you live in a state that's majority Democrat, and you go to vote for your local elections, do you even bother? Do you think your vote matters? Because personally, I don't. I think it's stupid. I think your vote doesn't matter if you live in a state where like we're in New Jersey or maybe California, where there's just a history of Democratic.
See, I disagree with you 100% because I feel like you look when you're looking at statistics and you're looking at a population. I don't think it matters if you're a Democrat voting in a primarily deep red state, like Texas, which even still is becoming a purple state by a lot of statistics. But I think it does matter because maybe your candidate doesn't win, but I think it shows people where people might be, where a state might be going, and where people might be leaning towards a different ideology. And I think it is important because if people just abstain from voting, no one would really get a sense for seeing which way the population is really feeling. Because ultimately, just having someone to represent you, voting for that, and getting them to win is just one thing. I think even more important is being able to see what people are thinking, and even if they don't win, their candidate doesn't win, you get to still see their opinion and see how we can measure this up.
Yeah.
So here's a question I was interested to ask. What do you think influences of, say, a swing voter's mind the most? Do you think it's reputation? Do you think it's social media, like something we want to
Consistency.
talk about? Do
Yeah.
you think it's, I don't know, it could be a number of things. It could be right now, what they're doing on the debate stage.
Yeah.
How do you think they influence people, Jason?
Well, I think for a swing voter, they're not too interested in specific ideologies because then they'd have already picked a side.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
that was the case, I think they're more concerned with like the persona of the candidate, if they could really represent like the president, stuff like that, like really personality, I think, would definitely play a big part, which is something like these debates. You know, they want to see that they're leaders of the country, something like that.
And I look at, say, Bloomberg, okay, and he's got this massive social media campaign. You know, you see his name everywhere. There's all these ads. It's genius. There's memes. It's genius. It's great, but he's getting destroyed. He's getting like reprimanded by Elizabeth Warren, who talks about, you know, things he's allegedly said in the past or things he's done that are questionable. He
That's what I'm saying,
apologizes
like,
for stop and
reputation
frisk.
definitely matters in a swing voter's mind. Reputation definitely matters, but I think it's also like plans they're presenting, whether they're actually practical and they will be used in government.
Well, like, and going back to like what you were saying is, you could see how like our generation, the younger population that's going to be voting, you know, maybe, you know, a lot of them aren't interested in politics because I feel like you have people that are completely out of touch or people that are just staunch in their political beliefs and they don't want to change, and then they're just, you know, fanatics for whatever political party they are affiliated to. And you kind of see Bloomberg trying to pick up those people that aren't really politically engaged through social media, and you can almost see how it's almost backfiring because people are, you know, seeing these
Learning
memes and
about
stuff
him
and are going, well, you know, he's not a great guy necessarily, and you can see how it's kind of cheesy. He's trying to like kind of just swing, you know, you can kind of almost see through the lighthearted.
So, RJ, if there was, I don't know, a candidate on the debate stage up there right now, who do you think would benefit from a stronger social media campaign?
Personally, I think that Bernie would benefit more from a social media campaign because of how known his name already is, and if he could spread his ideologies out further, especially on multiple social media platforms, he'd definitely get more people to support him.
Yeah, and though he's already in touch with the younger community, it would just bring him that much closer.
See, I would actually beg to differ and say Joe Biden would have a stronger because you know you see that Bernie's very popular with the younger population right now, the millennials. But Joe Biden's really lacking in that area, and he's more geared towards the middle-aged to older people,
more moderate too.
I would actually, I'd strongly disagree. I mean, I see every day, I see a meme, a joke, or even just an actual news clipping of Joe Biden stumbling over his words,
then again,
doing
that's
something that he shouldn't,
saying
saying something that he shouldn't say.
I think
But I think social media is destroying him right now.
Oh, here's a question that's kind of interesting. Is all publicity positive? Because you kind of see, like, you know, maybe they're getting made fun of, but you even see this with 2016. People were trying to make jokes and memes about Trump, but really it only kind of made him stronger because you're getting your name out there.
If we're talking marketing, if we're talking, you know, business, all publicity is good publicity. But if you're talking about politics, and you don't know this name, Bloomberg, and you look up Bloomberg,
and you hear
and you see something you don't like, or you see footage of something you don't like, it's not good publicity. And you lose a voter.
Here's what I will say though is, I know that I have not seen anything about Klobuchar. Like maybe one or two ads, but I know so little about her because I haven't seen anything good or anything bad. Elizabeth Warren, I know a lot because there's talk about how radical she is and how that could be detrimental.
Like, you see good things that she's been doing, and you see her credentials as a senator. And
that too. And the other thing is, well, I'm just saying that was an example of bad publicity having a positive impact because I know her name now.
Than Amy Klobuchar.
Yes, and on top of that, like Elizabeth Warren, the first time I really I guess when her name stuck to her face for me was when I saw the video of her dancing. You know, that
she does have a way to connect herself with more average people than, even though she is a millionaire, she has a way to connect herself more than Bernie, more than Biden. The problem, though, with Klobuchar, and maybe not so much a problem with Buttigieg because he is younger and people seem to like him. He's in second right now to Bernie Sanders. But regarding Klobuchar, it's the money. Her and Buttigieg, I believe, are two of the only candidates up there who don't have
Yeah, the
millions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we look at
dollars.
Buttigieg's background, I mean, he was a veteran, and now he's a mayor. You know, he doesn't have. I mean, yes, he has other
he's
accolades, but it's not like to the level where most of the candidates on the stage are career politicians, and they've been in politics for so long, and they've had so much time to get their name out there. Whereas Pete Buttigieg, just a mayor. You know, I say just a mayor, but
Michael Bloomberg's, you could say
he was
just a
also
mayor,
yeah,
but he
man,
also like
yeah, a huge multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah.
So, and he was also the mayor of New York, whereas I don't even remember where.
South
Yeah,
Bend.
I've heard it a million times that he's the mayor of wherever, and it still hasn't stuck.
You
When
can't
you're the
ask-
mayor of a major city, it's
Yeah,
there's
it's
a little
way-
more.
yeah.
New York
Yeah,
is
that
known
goes
around the
into that.
world. South Bend or whatever, South Bay is.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us know what state that's in.
Yeah.
So, or even what region of the country.
Now,
So-
now we're kind of closing in on our ending here, but I'm kind of curious. Go around. Who do you cast your ballot? Who do you think out of these candidates would be your choice? Ryan, would you like to start?
Yeah, so I don't know if there's one clear-cut person yet. I was actually trying to wonder this myself. Trying to put myself in one of the shoes of the Democratic delegates here, because obviously you want to pick a candidate that's going to have the best chance of beating Trump, and
For the
I would probably say either Pete Buttigieg or Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders because he has all that traction, he has a lot of support. The only thing that scares me is I know that Trump is aggressive, and we've seen him tear through
Yeah.
people on the debate stage, and I'm worried that if Sanders went up against him, Trump can play the socialist card, which that's going to
Yeah,
lose
also
a ton of support. He can play money because Trump, the economy's been very good under him. He could say and scare a lot of the voters into believing that Sanders would ruin our economy, and also the age thing. Bernie Sanders it's very public that he's had a heart
He's
attack on the
had a
campaign
heart
trail. He is active, out there and motivated
Yeah.
and
So then-
very lively. But Trump is, he's like a predator. He gets on
Yeah.
stage and he
Attacks.
has an energy which could.
and it's also
prove
something that voters are
dangerous.
familiar with.
Yes.
Brian,
Um,
you had to cast your ballot. Who do you think?
Personally, I wouldn't pick any, or I don't have a clear-cut winner out of these, just like Ryan. But personally, I think Pete Buttigieg, with the being more moderate than Bernie Sanders, I don't think Bernie Sanders.
You think he'll connect?
Yeah.
You'll probably get that
Yeah.
swing
So,
vote.
Yeah.
a little more.
RJ, you see a clear-cut guy, or you like those two?
I think that definitely Sanders has like a big following, and I think that has like his name. It does have traction to it, so I'd say him. Though I think that Trump will rip right through him like last time.
Jason.
Kind of like what Ryan said, if I were to put myself in a Democratic voter's shoes, I would have to go with Bernie Sanders, because I feel like I saw some talks the last election when Hillary had lost to Trump. A lot of them are saying if it were Bernie, they had believed that Bernie would have beat Trump in that election, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but looking at their point of view, I think that the voters are going to see Bernie as the best chance to knock him out of office. So I think he's definitely going to be the chosen one.
Mike? You?
And for me, I would say prediction-wise, like who I think would win. I would have to go with like Jason said, Bernie Sanders, because he has this consistency too that you don't really see as much as the other candidates. And it's also I feel like a lot of voters are going to see him as someone familiar. Like he almost got the nomination in 2016. Like Jason said, he could have beat Trump. He's kind of like a familiar face around. And I would almost say the same with Joe Biden. He was a vice president under Barack Obama. So I feel like people are probably going to go, I would say, if you're going to go with more of a extreme, more like severe view, I would say Bernie Sanders, depending on where people are going to vote. And I think if people are going to go more moderate, I think they would do that through Joe Biden. I feel like they would put aside his gaffes and his mistakes and, everything people like to crunch down on him with. And I think they'll put that aside because of his consistency.
So,
what do you think, Joe? What's your
a little
take?
while ago, I probably would have said Elizabeth Warren because I feel like I like the energy she gives off. I thought she would connect to voters. But right now, I'm going to make kind of a bold prediction because Bernie's leading. He's been vice president. This Joe Biden. He's been popular for 8 years. People like him. He's like, he seems like just a nice guy.
Someone you know.
He might have
Yeah.
some bad publicity right now, but I feel like people want the moderate guy who's been in that situation
able to beat
before.
Trump.
He could
Yeah.
probably, if he wanted to, he might be able to beat Trump. So
Yeah,
I think I would go with Joe Biden.
Mhm.
Anything else to say?
I'd just like to, one more thing, harp back actually what Brian said, because that got me thinking. Pete Buttigieg, I think that he's probably the wild card up there right now, because of all the candidates, he stands out as the young one and
That's true.
the new kid on the block, who really, I think that, I'm not sure, what the nation wants, but if the nation does want to change, I think he is the farthest and the farthest from Trump. So if the nation is ready for a change in that political climate, I think that Pete Buttigieg could be the guy to really change it up, shake it up, have a younger person, somebody that could be in touch more with the younger community, and not have another old candidate that is kind of the stereotypical Washington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So it was a good first episode. I want to thank you guys again for watching, and that's a wrap for the first episode of Purple Politics.